From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the real zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another podcast with Conversation with Trent and Friends, featuring the lovely Coach Dee. Hey, listen, we got a good one tonight. We are finishing off part one of the Disney Princess Syndrome, leading into the Prince Syndrome. Had a real good conversation with some gumbo talk mixed in with Coach Dee. We got some good stuff. I think it's 2 weeks now. It was going so well. Part one was going so well on the channel. I was like, hey, Coach, let's just let it flow. And we'll go back and give these folks part two. So tonight, we're live streaming tonight, right there on your Roku channel, right there on the B2G Unity TV network, right there on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. YouTube live. We're live tonight. Let's bring Coach Dee in so we can finish this off. Hey.
Hey there, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. Trying to get some Christmas started. Xavier had a play date today, so too much boy energy.
Duty calls.
Yeah.
Duty calls. Good stuff. Hey, that podcast on the Disney Princess Syndrome, that was pretty good, man. Real good. I found myself watching that program, and I was like, I forgot I was part of it. It was good. It was real good.
They must have liked it because I haven't gotten any hate mail in a couple of weeks, so yeah.
It was good though. It was real good, man. Real good. So I wanted to finish off the Disney Princess Syndrome and lead off into the Prince Syndrome, because actually on the latter part of the previous podcast, I dived into some things about myself and got a little transparent on that. So we'll lead off into that after we talk about this, finish off this Disney Princess Syndrome. So what's your thoughts on that though? Like, I know we talked about how the trauma of it all and whatnot and why, male and female act that way.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna blame their mamas. So y'all not gonna like me. I will get some hate mail from this one, but for I don't know what reason, but men think they're the gift. Like, I've had Christian men go, well, you'd be lucky to marry a man like me. I'm like, well, sir, the Bible says he who finds a wife. It says nothing about she who finds a husband.
Right,
I'm
right,
like, so, and I will always say this: we love our sons and raise our daughters, right? And
one more time,
we love our sons and raise our daughters, right? Xavier is a son who no woman should have to heal from, right?
Right.
Otherwise, he's going to get his ass whooped no matter how big he is. But here's the thing: how many women have grown up with brothers where their brothers didn't do anything at all in the house, and the sisters did everything, right? So then you get these men who go out into the world who expect to be catered to.
Right.
And I'm like, that's
my Prince syndrome came in. Well, we talked about that on the latter part of the podcast 2 weeks ago, where there was a gap in between as far as when I was taken from my mother at the age of 4 and returned back to my mother at the age of 9. Yeah. And at that time, I didn't realize that she was pouring into me, trying to fill a void.
Yeah.
That gap where I wasn't with her. So technically it's not her fault, but as I acquired the tools over the years and realized, like, wow, this is not cool, man. This is, having that whole attitude of, I expect this to happen. I expect that. That's for me. There's no question about it. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to get. So I was, I was turned into a monster.
Yeah.
And that was a traumatic part of my life, starting from the age of 4. And I didn't realize the time when I was running through all these different women and feeling like I am the gift, I am the prize. all that stemmed from that 4-year-old boy that was taken from his mother, and his mother poured into him, trying to fill a void, which had nothing to do with her. She was only trying to pour that love in and try to fix things, but it's all she knew of at that time.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, a lot of people think I blame parents for not knowing better. I'm like,
right.
You do what most parents, the vast majority of good parents, do what they thought they knew, right?
Right.
From whatever.
Can you imagine? I think I was watching a playback.
Yeah.
And you said, can you imagine what it feels like to not have your 4-year-old child, just have your child just taken from you?
Yeah.
And that's a huge gap to fill.
Yeah.
So not only for her it was traumatic, it was very traumatic for me.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes in with it, because there's like, you have the abandonment issues, you have the trust issues. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes in, and those things are hard to rebuild, because remember those 0 to 7, those are the formative years. That's where your children learn everything you need to know. That's where everything you pour into them from those years reflect later on. Right?
Exactly. So it took me a number of years, like I said, to get past that and get past that whole Prince syndrome, because I always thought that the world revolved around Trent, because that's what my mother, that's what she did.
It wasn't just your mother, sir. There are plenty of men out there that still think the world revolves around them. Right? Like the whole, I saw a meme the other day, and I was laughing so hard I cried. It's, let me see what it says. It shows a broken picnic table, and it says the table of the guy asking you, what do you bring to the table? And I'm like, so I love my friends. They're hilarious. But here's the thing.
We'll dig into the Prince side of it. But let's finish off this Disney princess syndrome, where, I mean, you already know, we talked about it and dug into it, but how did they get past that? How do they get past that whole, and we know that, we talked about that as well. We know that this stemmed from men. We know that. Yeah. But how do they get past that? I mean, because when you, in any situation, whether you're male or female, if you make a situation about yourself, you're going to lose. Well, you're going to lose.
See, we disagree on the princess system to begin with. But here's the thing. The patriarchy made up a set of rules. The problem is now that people are pushing back on those rules. The patriarch's upset about the rules that they made.
I get that. But it's still, where's the healthy piece in, hey, man, the world doesn't revolve around you.
Boundaries, consent, and rules and expectations.
Exactly.
But here's the problem. Men don't like that.
Men don't like
I get boundaries and consent and rules and expectations.
I get that. But again, you can't, certain things you can't demand. If you're not living that way, don't demand that. Don't ask me for that stuff.
Did I say demands? No, I said expectations.
No, you didn't.
Right? So you have this idea where you have to be living, if you're only living that way now, you can't expect that. I have the view that if that's the way you
want to do, this is where we respectfully disagree, ladies and gentlemen, because it's like, for me, right? If you're not accustomed to root Chris, don't ask me for that. Don't ask me for that.
Yeah. Whereas if you want root Chris, then you get root Chris. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Speaking of the lady with the silver spoon in her mouth.
Listen, my mom was a single mom. She was a waitress and then drove cab. So don't talk about silver spoons.
You didn't have any problems with money. Come on now.
No, because I worked my ass off. I worked at my parents' store, and then I worked a full-time job when I went to university. So
like I said on the previous podcast, I'm going to exclude you from this because you're accustomed to that. You're accustomed to a Ruth Chris or a Morton's or whatever it is. But even when we were dating, you didn't demand that stuff. Our first date was dinner at my house.
I don't like steak. I don't eat beef.
Exactly, fish.
But it's interesting because I do have very expensive taste, and some people have taken me out and have found out that the hard way, because I look like a low maintenance girl, but I'm not. I have very expensive taste. But here's the thing: a lot of people don't realize that the expectations that when somebody gives you their expectations, if you cannot fulfill those expectations, then you just need to say no and walk away.
Exactly.
Like, too many people get caught up in pretending that they can fulfill expectation that they're not, and pretending to be somebody that they're not. And nobody wants to date somebody's representative and then 6 months later find out that this person is nothing like that.
Exactly.
Right? So be your authentic self.
I mean, if you have the hard conversation up front, it takes care of a lot of heartache.
Yeah. Like, it's better to find out that this guy can't handle a woman who requires that you shine together.
Right.
And allow her to be her own independent self, making her own money, doing whatever she does that she loves doing. Right. If he can't handle that, then he's not your person. If she can't handle him doing the same, she's not his person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Normalize walking away, people. Stop sticking around for 10, 20 years with somebody you shouldn't be with.
I wrote a quote years ago talking about master the art of saying goodbye. Master the art is saying goodbye. When it does not work, master the art and walking away. Say goodbye.
Yeah. Some people are
It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Again, like I always say on this podcast, Coach D and I don't sit on a high panel of judges. We just speak the truth, speak our truth, period.
Yeah.
I leave all the facts up to Coach D and the numbers and all that stuff. But I mean, I stand on my truth, and that's what it is. Master the art of saying goodbye, and it's okay to adult sometimes. Walk away. It's that simple. If she's actually requiring you to take her to a Ruth Chris and she won't go anything under that, if you cannot afford that, walk away. There's no need for conflict. Yeah. There's no need for an argument. Thank you, ma'am.
Date within your budget.
I bid you goodbye. There you go. Good stuff, though. So let's dig into the Prince thing here, man. As far as the Prince syndrome, actually, when I went back and looked at the show and watched the playback all the way through, as I was actually a viewer, and I was kind of like, wow, it's getting pretty heavy. And I got to thinking about my mother's mindset when she would actually pour all these gifts into me, and when she financed the music career and everything, and sent me away to California and all that stuff. It's like, I wonder what was going through her mind when she was doing all that, because she never told me no, because I came up with the idea to go to Los Angeles to shop a deal. And all she said, she's okay. So how much it's going to cost? And I'm talking about she didn't have money hand over fist. She worked overtime, did everything. But she made sure I had the money to go, to travel, and to stay. Yeah. Until I went and got a deal. I went and got a deal off of her dime.
Yeah,
it was my idea, and she agreed.
Yeah, but you have to think about this. Our parents were a generation whose parents didn't allow them to live out their dreams, who were told what they were going to do and where they were going to do it. Right. So a lot of parents, no matter what their kids asked for, would support that dream because they don't want their kids to grow up with the regret that they grew up with.
Exactly. Right? And her pouring into me, even though, she created a monster, not knowing that she was creating that monster, but her pouring into me made me go even harder once I got to the West Coast.
Yeah.
Made me go even harder and push to get that deal all together and cut a couple of deals, not just one deal, cut a couple of deals. And it was because of my mother pouring into me. So she took a negative and turned it into a positive.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with pouring into your children. There's a problem if you never say no.
Right. And that's where the problem with me came in. She never said no and created a monster, and it created a lot of roadkill for me on this road called life. And I don't blame her for that at all, because she was still dealing with some traumatic things about losing me at the age of 4. So, things come full circle. But go ahead.
Most of our parenting is about reparenting ourselves, because our kids.
One more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. Most of our parenting is about reparenting ourselves, because our children's response, 98% of our children's behavior, people aren't going to like this, unless there's a medical issue, is because of our behavior and reactions.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if you take your kids out past their nap time, don't give me food, don't give me water, and then take them to a store where there's lots of stimulation, you should expect a temper tantrum.
Right.
Because you set up the perfect storm. So, and it's the same thing with this whole Prince syndrome. We set up this perfect storm for men to believe that they were the gift. right?
What does that look like? I'm surprised that you're saying this. Dig a little deeper.
So the patriarchy tells us that women are incomplete unless they have a husband, that you need to have a man, that men are the best thing going, and they put men up on a pedestal, right? So then even men now will tell if a woman is single and alone, well, you're going to die miserable. Like statistics say that women who are single live a longer life, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm completely surprised by Coach D's layout of this. I'm surprised.
What are you
that you would actually say that?
What do you think I was going to say?
I didn't realize. I didn't think you were going to say that, but I totally agree with you on that. Where society as a whole has placed women in that box and saying, if you don't have a man, you're not nothing.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
So men have grown up with this. Look at the passport bros are a perfect example.
Right.
That they're the ones who are the gift. I am the one who should be redeemed and catered to and all this stuff. I'm like, if that's not a Prince syndrome, I don't know what is.
Right. Yeah, I had it, to be honest with you, like I said on the latter part of the podcast 2 weeks ago, I had it real bad. Mm-hmm. I bumped into you, but you wouldn't actually, fall to your feet.
Yeah. It's all right. My ex-husband the same way. I'm like, I don't know what pedestal people were putting you on, but
Ladies and gentlemen, when I met Coach D and we started dating, I thought she was gonna do like the rest of them, and she didn't.
No,
she didn't.
No, I am I'm definitely not one of those.
She wouldn't fall to her knees and say, "I am king." She didn't do it. She gave me a dose of reality.
Yep.
She gave me a dose of reality. I was like, wait, this is a little different, but I like it.
Yeah, I had somebody who dumped me saying I was too real for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, sir. He's like, my mother loves you, my father loves you, my friends all love you. I can't do this. I'm like,
exactly. I tell you guys a short story. When I met her for the first time over in Windsor, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm picking her up in Windsor, and I just went back around. I greeted her or whatnot. She got off the train, and I got back in the car. Would you like to tell the folks what you said?
I very politely told you about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. But that's part of that, and I brought that up because that's part of that Prince syndrome that I had. I mean, I still had it. Can you think the residue that was actually left over when I was really running these streets? And when I moved forward, I was on the other side there, and I didn't even think twice to open the door. I didn't open the door, and I'm a gentleman, but I didn't think about it. But she brought it back. She, excuse me, sir. And she would not move until I went back around and opened that door. Like, she a little different. It's her first time meeting me, and she a little different.
And ladies,
she was going,
here's a tip for you.
She was going to get down on one knee and hail the king and all that, but didn't happen.
Sir, yeah, whatever. So, ladies, here's a tip. If you're on a date and that gentleman is not being a gentleman, if he drives you to your house, when you get out of the car, do not close the door. Make him get out and close his own door.
Yeah, she did me in on that one. She did me on that one. But that's part of that, like I said, that's part of that Prince syndrome, like it's already understood, and having the arrogance and all that stuff. That's not healthy, man. That's not healthy. And a transformer moment for me again, be transparent. I walk through life like that, expecting this is the way it's supposed to be. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all.
Well,
you can't live your life like that.
Look at what we tell little boys. We tell them if somebody says no, keep saying, just keep trying.
Right? Yeah.
Like me and Xavier had a conversation not too long ago because we were talking about a TV show, and he said that gentleman was being rude to the girl. I'm like, yes, and I said, what do you do if a girl says no? He's like, you leave her alone.
Right.
Done. That's it. Move on. But
nowadays, like Slash is in here tonight. What up, Slash?
Hey, it says Slash says Grand Rising Melanated people. Greetings, Princess Coach D and Mr. Epic, aka Ralph T. So here's the thing: a lot of men who have this Prince complex will get upset when a woman says no because how dare she say no to him?
Right.
I'm like, sir, I don't know who you think you are, but people can say no to you.
Right.
And you just need
to honestly, I had a ton of trouble with women telling me no. Like if this is what I want, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I had a problem with it, but I handled it a little different. I was never aggressive like that.
Yeah.
I was like, either you open up to my demands, and I'm gonna say it in a very gentlemanly way, and we'll talk about it. And 9 times out of 10, I got exactly what I wanted. 9 times out of 10, I got exactly. But as I look over the years and acquired these tools, that wasn't it. That wasn't it at all.
Yeah, it's manipulative.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't realize that's what it is.
Exactly. Because I was actually, when I was out there like that, I was a master manipulator.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get what I want by any means. Period.
Yeah.
Very generally way.
Yeah, and that's the whole Prince syndrome thing in a nutshell. Yeah. That they're supposed to get what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And I'm
that's
like,
true.
Well, sorry, that's not how the world works. So when that's why I laugh so much about these passport bros, whatever they're called.
Right.
I'm like, sorry, you got sent. I watched one TikTok. This guy went overseas and then couldn't get back because he didn't have $500 for a standby flight. I'm like, sir, you call yourself an alpha male? Like, come on. Sort yourself out.
That's funny.
You know, life is interesting, but I think a lot of problems stem from our childhood, and then we don't do the work that we need to do.
That's true.
When we're adults.
Exactly. I'm so grateful for the work that I've actually done on myself and with myself. And, you know, for me, the reason I was able to get over the hump, because I actually accepted the toxic that I brought to my own party.
Yeah.
You know, I admit to it. I took accountability for it. And, you know, having these plethora of women and all that stuff, I take personal responsibility for all that stuff. The way I acted, the way I was, the way I presented myself and everything. Even though it was in a gentlemanly way, it was still manipulative.
Yeah. And we all have toxic traits. You know, I have toxic traits. Anybody who says they don't have a toxic trait is toxic. You need to run far from them because they haven't admitted to themselves yet.
Exactly. But once we get over the hump of ourselves, man, things will be so much better. Things will be so much better once we get over the hump.
But you're far pickier once you get over the hump, because you can see through the fake.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
And
so let's talk about the Prince syndrome, along with the Disney princess syndrome. At the age of 4, would you say, starting from the age of 1, I'm saying 4 because that's my personal experience, but does it go a little further back, or when it becomes significant for a kid, when it affects a kid, when it starts affecting a kid?
0 to 7. Those are the big years.
Okay.
And they've studied it because that's when the beliefs are formed. That's when they start to make decisions. Like little boys who have mothers adore their mothers, look up to their mothers, because their mothers is usually the primary person in their life, right?
Right.
She's there, she's feeding them, she's taking care of them, she's loving them when they're hurt, all that stuff. So for them to lose their mother is catastrophic, right? Even as adult men, it's catastrophic because
that's true, man.
Because
that's so true. And folks, still at this age, and I did promise that I'd be transparent with this topic because it's near and dear to my heart, because it involves me and my mother, my mother and I. But my mother passed away, as you all know, and this has been like 4 years. It was catastrophic. Just like Coach D said, that's exactly what it was for me. It was so catastrophic for me, I had a bleed on the brain. I could not imagine life without my mother.
Yeah, it's stress. It's a lot of people don't realize that our parents, the parents that give us unconditional love, are like our first love affair, because that's the only person we know who loves us without condition, right?
And what does that look like? I know exactly what you're saying when you're talking about the love affair, because I truly had a love affair with my mother. Like I couldn't see nothing past my mother. You know how close my mother and I were.
So there's a fine line. I
couldn't see nothing past her.
Yeah, there's a fine line, because you can love your mother and then it bleeds into emotional incest if you become your mother's partner, so to speak.
Right.
So there's a fine line where you can love your mother, but it's still a mother-child relationship.
Exactly.
Right? So you're not on equal footing. So
Exactly.
here's the thing. I absolutely adore that child. I would, if something happened, I would go to jail without a blink of an eye if somebody harmed him. Right?
Right. Right.
I would kill for him. Wouldn't even think
That's a
about it.
mother's love, though.
Yeah.
That's a mother's love. When you
Yeah.
have a mother's love, it's a mother's love is nothing like a man could ever experience. I don't
Because
care if you get married
you have
3 or
that
4
safety
different
line.
times.
Yeah.
That's an
It's all about
unconditional
that
love.
safety.
Exactly.
Right?
That's an unconditional love that goes beyond the universe, that goes beyond infinity.
Yeah.
A mother's love, because
But
I still, even in her passing, even in her death, I still feel so close to my mother.
yeah.
That was a
Now
strong bond,
yeah,
very strong bond.
it is. And not everybody has that their biological mother in their life. Some may have a mother figure who loves them
Right,
just as unconditionally. Right?
right.
So I want to make
I
sure
see
that
Al. Sal, what up?
the good evening, Al, all the aunties and the cousins and the moms who chose to be, and all of those mother figures that were out there,
Right,
because they pour into them too. But here's the thing: that relationship is you have to be careful that it doesn't cross over where that child then becomes an equal.
right.
Right? They
Yeah,
still have to be their child. They don't become
I
your partner.
agree.
Like
I agree. That's when the
never tell a
disrespect
child they're
comes
the man.
into play and all that type of stuff. They feel like they can say anything they want to you. I get
Well,
it.
no, it's because they go, "Oh, you're the man of the house now." No, you're a 9-year-old. They're not the man of the house. They're a 9-year-old child still.
Right,
Never
right,
tell a child they're the man of the house. Don't adultify children, because that's when you have the relationship issues start beginning. Because then that
right,
child
right,
is now put into a role that they're not ready to be in. Right. So we have to be
right, right,
careful with,
right.
and that's why I say we love our sons and raise our daughters because we don't put our daughters in the same situations.
We got them following in here. Let's catch these real quick. Let's
Okay,
get
Sal
to
says
Slash, and then we'll get to hers.
Princess syndrome. People with such syndrome are characterized by arrogant, self-centered, attention-seeking, demanding attitude. Yeah.
Yep,
Uh, I,
absolutely.
I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Ursula,
Urstelia?
Ursula,
That's Ursula?
Ursula.
Okay. That's so true. I just told Chantel this very thing this morning. A mother's love. Yeah. And
Yep,
you know what? It's thank you for all those who didn't birth children but are loving them.
right,
Like I'm a firm believer that all the babies out there are babies.
right,
Right?
right.
Like I was at the store the other day, and a gentleman was having an issue, and I was like, "Baby, what's wrong? What can I help you with?" And there's nothing.
Exactly.
And he just looked at me. He goes, "There's nothing that feels safer than a black woman calling me baby." You know what I mean? Because he knows that there's a certain age where she's trying to help you like your mom would help you,
Right,
right?
right, right. Now
And he just
let's get back to the trauma piece of it. When I spoke on being a 4-year-old kid separated from my mother, and when I came back to my mother, she poured into me again. And I'll say this, and that's me giving my mother her flowers. I gave her flowers while she was still here.
right,
She is the reason why I am the man I am today. The stuff that I accomplished, my mother gave me a jump start.
yeah.
My
Well,
mother gave me a jump start, financed a ton of things for me.
yeah. Well, think of it this way:
But
not everyone has lost a parent, but most people have been dumped in their life. So
yeah,
imagine you have this person that you love beyond anything, and all of a sudden that person is wrenched out of your life.
right,
How do you feel?
right.
You feel absolutely
That wasn't
horrible.
a day, honestly, for me, that wasn't a day that went by that I thought about my mother daily. And that's how I became a songwriter. I used to write these letters, pretending to write these letters to my mother
Yeah.
as a young
And
kid. I
here's
would
the
write
thing.
these letters and keep them to myself.
Yeah.
And that's how I became a writer. But, it's very traumatic, man. Like I said, we touched on it on the previous podcast. And not at the time, I didn't know that she was really doing harm to me by pouring into me like she did. Because
Yeah.
she was not telling me no for nothing. And I was
Mm.
taking advantage of it. I was just reaping the benefits.
Yeah.
And she created this monster.
Well,
Didn't
imagine.
realize until I'm gonna say about 25, 30. It's like, wow, that wasn't right. As far as the monster that she created, which means, it wasn't her fault. Again, like I said, it wasn't her fault. She was only pouring into the best she knew how. She was trying to give love the best she knew how.
Yeah. And making up for lost time.
Exactly.
Because here's the problem we have in society is we don't tell children what's going on. So when you don't tell children what's going on and the world changes dramatically, the first thing they do is blame themselves. What did I do to cause this? And so this is the biggest problem. That's why I always tell people, if you're getting divorced, put your kids in therapy so they understand it's not about them.
Right.
Right? That everybody still loves them. Is that the adults don't love each other anymore. So you don't end up with that abandonment issue, and that trust issue has been broken. Unless you're not being adults and co-parenting, but that's a whole other show. Right?
Right.
But kids will take on a lot more responsibility than they ever should because they don't understand, and people don't.
Coming up, I was able to turn that tragedy into a triumph. Mm-hmm. And kids are different. Kids are completely different. Our makeup, everything about us, we're different. But I was able to turn things around because I was able to, I want to say compartmentalize. I hope I'm saying that right. But, just place trauma in different places and place my happiness in different places. I've always had that gift as a child. And, I deal with it and keep on pushing. I dealt with it, keep on pushing.
Sir, that's a trauma response. It's compartmentalizing.
Hold on a second now. Well, not coach me tonight, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, you said it's a gift. I'm just telling you it's not. So,
go ahead.
But here's the thing: when we tell kids what's going on, and we love them, and we tell them no, and we give them options, and we allow natural consequences, kids learn and love and thrive, right?
Right.
When you start giving unnatural consequences, you start punishing them for stuff they've already been punished for, or you start beating them. And anytime a smack is a beat, because their brain doesn't think of anything else.
Right.
You hit a child.
In your professional opinion, how do you walk a child back from that? Say when they become 15 and they still wanting what you were giving them. How do you walk a child back from that?
If you're not giving them natural consequences, then there's pushback from that. Then you have to do family therapy. Therapy is not a 4-letter word, right? And there are people that can help you. Like people like, oh, there's no parenting book. I'm like, you know what? There are professionals who have studied children who can help you.
Right.
Right. There are people out there who are willing to help and talk to you. And I always tell people, get therapy. You can get therapy for free online if you look.
In your opinion, your professional opinion, what's the cutoff age? How do you stop that? Like, what's the cutoff age for that child? Like, oh shit. The parents saying, oh shit. What am I going to do about this?
The cutoff age for loving them, or
no, not that, but walking them back. Meaning, hey, this is not. We're not going to do this anymore.
There's no cutoff age because you can communicate.
Right.
Children need communication, empathy, and support. Gotcha. No matter what their age is, right?
Slash has another comment here. One sec.
Oh. So a child doesn't create such a condition. A child is raised receiving that overwhelming love, being prepared to receive a hard landing in their future. Nope. We are not going down that road. The whole teacher be hard on your children because the reality is going to sort them out is bullshit.
So you disagree with Slash tonight?
Studies have shown it's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. Here's the thing: we as parents are our children's soft place to land.
Right.
We are the fallback in case something happens. We are supposed to be there to support them. The world is going to show them the right. I'm like, you know what? The world is cruel at 6. We have kids going to school who are facing racism and.
Now, honestly, I mean, in some cases, like you can't, like for me, right? This road has been very bumpy for me on this road called life. Very bumpy. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't prepared for it. I'm just going to keep it 100. I wasn't prepared for it at all.
Yeah, because you were loved and not raised.
Say again now?
Because you were loved and not raised. What the problem is people are raising their daughters and not loving them. Loving them some and not raising them. You need to love and raise them.
I got you. Right? I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. Not going to disagree with you at all. But like I said, for me, the bumps that came, on my path, I had to figure it out for a moment. For a moment, it took me a moment to figure it out. I was going to deal with these mountains and turn them into molehills. Again, I had to figure it out how I was going to turn these mountains into molehills.
So if you have mountains,
Which I did over the years. But everybody's made up different though. Everybody's cut from a different cloth.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I took the negative stuff within me, the toxic stuff within me, and turned it into something like, I'm not gonna have that. Let's just say this, right? I'll give you an example. With this different ability. I've never said I had a disability. It was always a different ability for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was too stubborn to give into the wheelchair. I was too stubborn to give into the walker. I was too arrogant to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Even when the doctor was, prescribing these things like the wheelchair and the walker and all this other stuff, I'm like, man, he got to be right there for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
My mindset was completely different. That wasn't taught. That mindset wasn't taught.
But here's the thing: that mindset could also be very detrimental, because that means that person is not taking the advice from the person who has studied to help you. So the whole "I know better than a doctor."
I didn't say that. I did say that. Hold on a second.
Well, it's not you, but there's lots of other people out there who
I know for the folks who don't have this type of mindset, Coach D is here to walk you guys through that. But for me, I didn't want the wheelchair. Even though I was in the wheelchair, but every single day I was in the wheelchair, my mind was outside of the wheelchair. I did not want it. And I know everybody's not made up like me. I know that.
Yeah, but nobody wants a wheelchair. Some people have to use a wheelchair, and have to figure out ways to thrive while in a wheelchair. Wheelchair is not a sentence.
I get
it. It's just the ability to move, right?
I get it.
We have to be very careful because we do have people who watch who are in wheelchairs. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. But again, like I said, that's why I call it a different ability. And, everybody's walk is different. Everyone's walk is different. I don't expect people to walk through this different ability like me.
Yeah.
But I don't expect that at all.
Yeah. But I'm
just a different animal. That's all.
It is. But here's the problem. This week, I've been talking to a lot of people on various platforms. And I've been talking about, you have to be careful with what you're saying because people are listening.
I agree. Like, I can agree with that.
I'm just saying what I'm saying to you. I'm like, yeah, but what you're saying is harmful, and you have to be careful who you're hurting.
I could agree with that.
Right? Like, sure.
But what I'm saying it within love, and I'm saying it within love, and you have to have a mindset to work with this condition. You have to have a certain type of mindset. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you may be in a desolate place. You got to come out of it.
But
you got to come out of it.
Yeah.
If not, you'll fall to it. But go ahead.
But here's the thing: you have to be careful when people are put into situations where, especially if their body has changed, the shock of it and the trauma of not being able to do what they used to do can be very limiting, and it takes work. And here we don't get the mental health care that we should.
I agree.
Especially when devastating accidents. There should be mental health care along with it to assist people into healing, because we focus so much on the body that we don't focus on the brain.
Right.
And the brain is.
And that's in a lot of folks, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very glad you brought that up. The most important thing is the brain. The brain controls everything. That's even like with these limbs, when these things weren't working. Like sometimes, even when I'm working out today, like when I'm working out, I still have to. My brain has to tell me, hey, this arm moves again. This arm's actually moving. You can't close that hand, Trent. It's very important. Very important. I get it.
Good stuff. Sorry, I'm switching. I have a pain pad I have to switch. So the problem is that people too often get caught up in their stuff, right? Especially if something traumatic has happened to them. It's very easy to get caught up in things that have happened to you that are now causing issues that not going to allow you to move forward until you work through them, right? And we all have issues. I have issues. You have. Everybody has issues. Anybody who says
That's
they
right.
don't have baggage, I seriously question their authenticity and honesty.
Exactly.
Because something's happened to all of us. To not go through life without any trauma is a unicorn, right?
And what I've learned over the years that, even when I see people who these Disney princesses and all these other folks and whatnot, I'm always wondering, like, damn, what happened? You'd even be that way.
Yeah.
Not judging at all. I'd love to have a conversation. Let's talk about this for a second. Get a little more understanding of that. Like, I mean, why are you like this?
Sometimes people won't.
9 times out of 10, they'll figure it out when you ask the question. So I said that to say, when you meet people like this, when you meet people like me, I was that guy like that. I was that narcissist. That was a reason. There's only reasons why we do the things we do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are only reasons why we do the things that we do. Later on in life, I didn't realize that I was doing all those different things because my mother was pouring into me. So the average person would be like, "Oh, Trent, what are you talking about? Your mother gave you everything." But it hurt me in the long run.
Yeah, because there's no limitations. There's no restrictions.
Exactly. It hurt me in the long run. Even though it wasn't her fault. Again, I'll say this again. Even though it wasn't her fault, she was pouring to fill a void.
Yeah.
Making up time. But it hurt me in the long run. She created a monster. But, someone just like yourself, like when we started dating, there's a lot of stuff I learned by talking to you because I was still that guy like that.
Yeah.
I was still that guy until you started questioning things.
Yeah.
I was taken back at first. I was like, who the hell she thinks she is?
Oh yeah, he did not. What did I ask you? I said, has a woman ever said no to you before? Like,
Right.
And he's like, no. I'm like, oh well, sorry. Welcome to reality, sir. And here's the thing: there are so many of us out there that are trying so hard, but many of us are not allowing ourselves to experience our experiences, so that we can move past them.
That's
so we
true.
can understand what happened, so we can get to where we're going. Right?
And I think, when we talking about relationships, even friendships, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we open up and have open dialogue like you had with me,
yeah,
and this was 20 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Like you had with me, just give me a different eye to look at. I'm like, wow, okay, she got a point.
Yeah.
She has a point here. Think about if, you meet a person for the first time and they go to questioning why you're doing the things that you're doing and why you have that type of attitude or, whatever it is, but a conversation that gets you a long ways.
Yeah. And
a conversation will travel a very long way when people have an understanding here. Just be curious about why are you like that? Mm-hmm. And Dee was more like, nobody ever told you no before. I'm going to tell you no, but I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you no.
Yeah.
It was new to me, but it was cool. And 20 years later, we still have a friendship.
You didn't think it was that cool, man. Be honest.
Stop. 20 years later, we still have a great friendship, even though she ghosted me within the relationship. But we'll say that for another podcast.
Yeah, because that was my toxic trait, not knowing how to say goodbye.
Exactly.
And people don't realize that it's okay to admit to your toxic trait. No, you slash
one more time.
We're gonna fight tonight.
What do you say?
Often single mothers raise young men that create the prince syndrome. He's conditioned to be rewarded by breathing, being overpoured into, whether their cup runneth over, grown women seek. Sir, it's not single mothers. It's mothers, period. There's no difference between a single mother or a mother, because there's plenty of married mothers who are single mothers. Because the other side not doing anything.
Now, D.
I'm being honest with you.
I get you. No, I get what you're saying. But I would love to see the numbers on single mothers who do that.
I will look for them, bring them up next week.
Because technically, when you think about it, Nan was a single mother doing that because my dad had been gone on.
Here's the thing. You ever notice how we always talk about single mothers, but we never talk about the men who made them single mothers? Because that's the patriarchy. The patriarchy.
Well, did I just bring up my dad? I brought him up.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about the world. The world's always
Right,
like,
right.
oh, single mother, single mother, single mother. I'm like, hey, where happened to the guy? We're not going to talk about
That's true. That's true. But technically, my mother was a single mother doing it, but it was for my situation is a little different from that. But yeah, I get it though. I get it.
And there's plenty of married women who might as well be single mothers because the other person is not involved in their children's lives at all. Okay, you see them on social media all
All
the time.
hate mail goes to Dee Layler
Listen,
at
here,
gmail.com.
men, buy your wife a present and fill her Christmas stocking. End the story. Because you aren't doing it. She's filling her own stocking and she's building resentment against you. Fill her Christmas stocking, buy her a present.
So what about those guys that don't believe in Christmas?
Well, if you don't believe in Christmas, then don't do it. If you don't believe in Christmas, you're not in a family who's celebrating Christmas. If you're in a family who celebrates Christmas and your wife has a stocking up there, fill it. Don't be an idiot.
Just on GP, fill it. So when she put the stocking up, just fill it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, all the kids have their stockings filled. His stocking is filled. Nobody's filling the wife's stocking because she's the one who fills all the stockings.
Slash coming in hot.
To continue that spilling, showing the love language of giving, which fills a void and continues the cycle. Sir, here's the thing. It doesn't continue the cycle of single parenting. What continues the cycle of single parenting is a lack of education on relationships and communication. We tell children to stay in the child's place. We don't allow them a voice. We don't allow boys to show emotion. Then when men show emotion, you call them weak. That's why we have single parents. Because you're not allowing them to build relationship properly.
You think so?
Yes, very much so. The most detrimental thing society does is tell boys they can't cry, so that men are forced to only show anger and happiness. They don't get to show frustration. They don't get to show sadness. Where have you seen men go to their mother's funeral and not cry because it's not allowed? How sad is that? That we as a species have done that. You know, every animal's mourn. Elephants mourn. Cats mourn. Dogs mourn. Every species mourns. We don't allow men to mourn because it's weak. Like, when did emotion become weak? You know, that's the problem we have with society. It's not single mothers.
Slash, what's your thoughts on what's your thoughts on her response to that? That guys are not allowed to cry. What's your reply to that, Slash?
I'd like to hear what everybody's thoughts on men not being shown emotion and the effects it has on their adulthood.
Yeah. For me, I've never had a problem with expressing myself. Never. Yeah. But I was always expressive.
Yeah, there's so many, especially within the Black community. If I hear people say "stay in a child's place" one more time, I'm just like,
like you got one that's agreeing with you tonight. Look at that, Ursula. What up, Urs?
Slash says, so you want to tell? Oh, Ursula says, I'm loving Dee tonight. Thank you, Miss Ursula. And Slash says, so you want to tell a young king or grown man when to express themselves? No, nobody should tell them when to express themselves. They should just express themselves. It's not about being told. It's about being society. If you look at any type of social media, you'll see, men don't cry, real men don't cry, telling boys to suck it up and be a man. Like, no.
Now, hold on a second. Now, let's put a little twist on this, right? And what I'm speaking strictly on what I see on social media with some women that does this, right? When a man expresses himself and he's open and honest, he's always shot down. He's always ridiculed. When he's expressed, I'll give you an example. Let's just say Tyrese the singer, when he was very expressive, speaking, crying and all this other stuff, they laughed at him. The memes came out of nowhere. Why does society do that?
Because
and particularly women, particularly Black women.
Because the most harm cause the most harm. People like to say hurt people. It's if you haven't worked through your trauma, you're just going to inflict trauma on other people.
Okay, so you're saying that these women that was ridiculing this boy for speaking and being very expressive and crying, he was actually literally crying about his daughter, wanting to see his daughter, and he was going through this court thing, and they were ridiculing this guy.
Yeah, because
so you're telling me that the women that was actually ridiculing him, that's a trauma response?
Yes, because they're not allowing him to communicate. I saw that and my heart broke for him.
God damn it, I'm loving Coach D tonight too.
You mean? Because here's the thing. We so often tell, like, I'm not a big fan of the memes when people are expressing their emotions. If people are talking about their own feelings, allow them to express their feelings. Even if they're feeling, even if you diametrically are opposed to what they're saying, still allow them to express their feelings. You can argue
about one more time, coming back again. Appreciate yours.
She said, Ursula says, emotional equals weak is so disheartening. Yeah. Because here's the thing.
And Slash comes in. Let's get Slash real quick.
I'm like JT from the 5 Heartbreaks. I'll what, sir? You'll what? Here's the thing. If you're the type that says that a man expressing himself makes him weak or a simp or a beta, then you got work. You're the one who needs the work to do. Right?
You're absolutely right.
Who needs to do the work.
We definitely gonna agree on that. We definitely gonna agree on that because I've never had a problem with expressing myself. I mean, hell, I'm a writer. And whatever comes up, gonna come out. Whatever emotion. Actually, I just received a text. He's gonna be okay with me saying that. When I mentioned my childhood, because we know, as far as my brothers and I, the Four Horsemen book was very traumatic for a ton of folks who was involved in that whole situation. Yeah. So he sent me a text just now as I was talking to you. He's like, "Oh, a lot of people gonna step on a lot of people's toes with that one tonight, talking about your childhood." But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with standing on my truth. Totally okay, and he knows that because he and I have had a ton of talks about this stuff. But hey, the truth is the truth. The truth will always outrun a lie. Period.
That's because people who haven't done the work don't like their mess being shown.
Exactly.
For instance, I have an adopted brother. Bad circumstances, his conception, all that stuff. But we hung out this summer and everything like that. He went home to Newfoundland, and one of my aunts gave him a picture of me and my father, a picture I don't even have. And I'm like, well, that's some bullshit.
Right.
I'm like, come on. I'm 52 years. It's not like I'm going to lose a picture.
Right.
But it's just like, when you called on them, they're just like, oh, well, I was told to hang on to. I'm like, really?
Right. And for the record, that the Four Horsemen book was written for the redemption of my mother because of the way things went and the way things took place. You already know that, D. And I published it. I published it against the will of my brothers because they got a transcript, the manuscript before it was released and published. Yeah. It was like, man, you gonna do that? I was like, yeah, I got your support. It's like, yeah, let's go for it. Boom.
Yeah.
So after I explained to them why I was doing it and the redemption of my mother, and she got her redemptions before she left here. So yeah.
Well, Slash is not going to like what I got to say about what he has to say. So Slash, I'll crying in a minute. Crying is overrated. Florida Evan didn't cry even after James Evan died. Not every person cries, nor should a black person need to cry in public ever, unless he's Denzel in Glory. Denzel, is it Denzel? And only he only dropped one thug tear. So, sir, let's talk about the history of why black people don't cry in public.
So wait. Before you do that, before you go in on him, Slash. So what you're saying is you're against showing your emotions publicly? I'm just asking. Is that what you're saying? Am I reading this correct? Go ahead, D.
Well, I don't know if he's reading it correct, but Slash is just caught up in the we don't cry because we don't want the white person to see that they've broken us. Because remember, crying or showing emotion as a black person in Jim Crow and slavery would get you killed. So that's a generational trauma that we need to eliminate. Right? That's like the same thing of moving off to the side of the road when we see a white person come. I don't move off to the sidewalk. And they will walk into you because they expect you to move. I hold my space. Okay? And these are the things that were inherently built into us. That's like the whole talk to somebody when you walk into a room. This is all stuff.
I think we found another topic. Men crying, men being emotional. Yeah. I think we found one. I think we found another one. What you think?
I think so too, because it's so important for men to cry. for men to show emotion other than anger and happiness.
Right.
How about we do this? How about we talk about experiencing your experiences? I can't think of it because it's got to be Messy Sunday, so we got to figure out something to add to it. Yeah.
Wait, one more time. Say that again.
We need to talk about experiencing your experiences, like allowing people to work through what they're feeling.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And we could tie it into the whole crying emotional thing. Oh, that's a good one. Hey, shoot me a text on it.
I got a title for you.
Huh?
Does crying make you a beta or a real man? There you go.
You try to start trouble.
I missed the hate mail. I miss it. I haven't got any in a while.
So does crying what now?
Does crying make you a beta or a real man? Yeah. That's it.
That's a messy Sunday. We should talk about it.
Oh yeah, we will talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Flashback.
And all those. Flash says, I'm not Therese Gibson. I know of the history. I've seen and heard a married man come home from work and cry, then be ridiculed by his loving wife. Well, his loving wife needs work to do.
Well, hold on a second, Nadie. Wait a minute. Wait. Now, I understand what Slash is talking about here. I totally get it. That last comment, I totally get that. I get that because after dealing with the world, no man, whether he's black or white, wants to come home to a woman ridiculing him and talking down to him. Nobody wants that.
Or a woman to a man. Same. Yeah, it works both ways. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is the problem isn't the crying. The problem is the ridiculing. So the person who's at issue is not the person who's crying.
You're on fire tonight. Well, let me get my hose and cool you off. You're on fire tonight. I love it.
Here's the thing: so people are so many times are so willing to pick on the one who's a victim, but we ignore the one who's the oppressor, the person who's causing the issue. Like even the same thing, like Malcolm X says, the media will have you loving the oppressor and hating the victim, or somewhere I can't remember the exact words. Whoever knows the code.
I get the point. I get it. I remember that.
And that's what society tells you. Society will have you picking on the victim. Look at children who are abused or rape victims. We always go after the victim and not the person who caused the issue.
Well, folks, we're at the top of the hour, and damn, I don't want to stop this podcast, but Dee's got to get the little prince off to bed for school, and I got to get Kobe a walk, and I'm going to go back and look at this one tonight. Oh, my God, this was good, man.
Slash says, like I said, I'm JT. I'll cry at the drop of a hat. I had drama class in high school, acting in plays, been around a few PG and adult videos. T.O. still gets clowned for crying in San Fran. You know what? I tell people, anybody who makes fun of somebody who's crying and showing emotion has some issues. So,
So we'll talk about it on the next Messy Sunday. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. And what's the title again?
Write that title down. It's 9:00 on the dot.
9:00 on the dot. So I appreciate we appreciate you guys for always tuning in. Hey, don't forget, go to vaystyle94.com. That album is now vintage, certified vintage, over in Japan, Germany, France, over in China. Go pick that up, man. We're not going to be going out on the road with it, but obviously I can't do that. So go pick that record up and get a free download when you actually subscribe to the newsletter for the release, for that Christmas relief. All I need, the live performance from Bass Style. It's an old group that, for the folks that don't know, that's an old group that I used to sing with back in the day. So it's remastered. It's been remastered for modern standards. So you guys pick that up when it comes out. And actually, again, get a free download when you go to the website, vaystyle94.com. VESTYLE 94.com. Check it out.
Sounds good.
Closing remarks, Coach.
If you think that let me think about this again. You give yours, and then I'll think about one first, because we're talking about Prince. I was on my thoughts on something else right now.
Yeah. So when we talked about the Prince syndrome, I could actually relate to that personally. And unfortunately for me, my mother was pouring into me trying to fill a gap. And fortunate for me, I was able to catch that later on in life, that that wasn't the way to go. My mother created a monster. Unbeknownst to her, she thought she was just pouring in love. But I was her, her pouring into me, it turned me into a monster. But everything went full circle. And, I got the train back on the track later on in life. But, you got to be careful, man, when you constantly giving these people what they want, because you could be possibly unconsciously creating a monster.
All right. So what I used to say is, love on your sons, but raise them as well. Treat your sons like you treat your daughters, right? And treat your daughters like you treat your sons. Give them responsibilities. Give them love. Give them unconditional love. Don't give them love based on transactions. Don't love them because their marks are good. Don't love them because they're good in sports. Just love them for being who they are. They're authentic human selves, no matter what they like, who they are, what their sexuality, what their gender, anything. Just love them for being them. They didn't choose to come into the world. You chose to bring into. So make sure that you are giving them the best example of how they should be loved, because how you love them is how they will expect to be loved in the future. So if you set up a bad example, then that will carry forward.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, Coach D and I really appreciate all the support right there on the B2G Unity TV network, right there on b2gunitytv.com, streaming 24/7, anytime. We'll have a plethora of content across the board on anything. We talk on a variety of topics. That's why we call it Gumbo Talk, where we throw everything in. So on tonight's show, you got the Prince Syndrome and the Disney Princess Syndrome. We talked about different abilities, all that stuff. We just throw everything on in a pot of gumbo. As we make the gumbo, continue to make a gumbo, Dee and I truly appreciate you guys. So we'll talk soon. We'll talk on the other side of Sunday for another Messy Sunday.
Definitely. Thank you all for listening. Good night.
You guys have a good night.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedie Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.